Auguro a tutti voi amici, piloti italiani della Audi 90 GTO IMSA in bocca al lupo per il campionato Kamel GT. Fatevi onore, date gas e tenete alto l'onore della mia Audi Racing preferita di sempre, l'Audi 90 IMSA GTO. Ciao e in bocca al lupo, tenete giù.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
At Mid-Ohio, luck finally swung the way of Jamie Hall. However, he still has a huge hill to climb in order to catch Gerber. On the GTO side of racing, Leskala proved he could take the fight to Lake and has narrowed the gap. In a similar vein to last week, we rock up to another very technical circuit. Will it suit the same drivers all over again? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Zandvoort is a unique circuit with a unique history. To find out what makes up this Dutch venue, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Zandvoort. This track just to the west of Amsterdam fell into obscurity, but is getting new life in recent times thanks to a resurgence of Formula One fans in the country. Back in the mid-20th century, it hosted the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix for nearly 30 years. Granted, it was on a much faster and more flowing layout. Nowadays, the 5 different versions which are available to be run are mostly tight and technical. The shortest one is a little under a mile, while even the longest only stretches to a little over 2.5 miles. These tiny lengths, plus the narrowness of the track and its lack of long straights, make passing almost maddeningly difficult. The 2 most common spots are Tarzan, which is the first corner, and Hans Ernst, which is the final chicane. Even though it has recently been updated in the real world with more banking, even on the old track here on iRacing, it has an unusual amount of camber for a road course. The 2 aforementioned turns, along with Hugenholtz and Schieflock, allow drivers to carry more speed than you'd expect. It also gives drivers a chance to take slightly unusual lines. Like most old-school tracks, runoff is minimal. Mistakes in a few of the faster turns tend to allow no time for recovery and a big repair bill. Another unique quality is the fact that Zandvoort is literally next to the beach on the North Sea. Therefore, the sand easily blows its way onto the track surface and lessens grip. It's a tricky place to race, and even trickier circuit to win at. But with the beautiful surroundings, great history, and a mob of enthusiastic fans donning orange, you can't help but want to go visit this fantastic venue. And there you see a little bit about Zandvoort, which, if I'm honest, Adam, I've long considered this one of the most difficult tracks on iRacing.
Absolutely, Joe. Zandvoort may be one of the biggest challenges for the Kamel series yet. With its winding braking zones, sweeping corners, and challenging passing places, this track, with these cars, is going to be formidable to say the least. The Nissans will struggle on power delivery out of the myriad of long and medium speed corners, and the Audis will struggle, well, everywhere. The GTO drivers will hopefully be used to slinging the weight of the Audi around from left to right and back again, and the curved braking zones will make this even more of a challenge, as the car will always want to run wide. The best place to pass or lap a slower class is on the front straight and the run down to Hans Ernst. Everywhere else is a danger zone, which makes the lap differential of 12 seconds between the Nissans and the Audis a very dangerous prospect. The Audis will have to be careful of the Nissan's sluggish getaway out of the slow corners, and the Nissans will have to be wary of the Audis going wide in the curved braking zones throughout the course. Combined all this with a legendarily narrow track surface throughout most of the technical parts of the course and a field of 38 cars today. And we have a recipe for some spooky moves today, Joe.
Well, hopefully nobody gets scared off the line too easily, but we've got our championship, of course, to go over. Fabian Gerber, as I mentioned, still with a big gap to Jamie Hall. Now, there's still plenty of time left in the season to overcome what is more than a win's worth for Jamie Hall to try and overcome. Hovdal and Cy Andra tied down there for third. What a mixed season for both of them. It's not over yet, but it's so large of a gap at this point that unless things turn around drastically, I think it's mostly going to be a two-horse race. Laust Olsen is rather close to them, which is something of a shocker. Laust Olsen has impressed us time and time again this season. Nick Schneider has been up and down, but at least has shown his face up towards the front a number of times so far this season, and that's why you see him at least within the top 5. Let's take a look at the GTO standings now.
GTOs, we still have Phil Lake leading. Michael Houghton lost 2 points to Phil Lake, but Yuko Leskala continuing his slow climb up, gained another 2 points towards Phil Lake at the end of last race with that win. Franco Scurry about 49 points back, and Reed Miller 62 points back of the lead, so they're definitely out of it. But these top 3, especially Yuko Leskala, I mean, just crossing the halfway point in the season with 6 races to go, Yuko's got a real shot at taking this championship if Phil can't stop this climb.
Now, for today's race specifically, we're on round 7. We're past the halfway point now, and it's a 40-minute race for this event. They always do a rolling start, as is typical with sports car racing. It's an open setup series, so drivers can put whatever they feel is comfortable on their car's setup, but no fast repair. So if you get damage, then you have to come in and get it repaired or just deal with it all race long. Since there's no scheduled pit stops, that will be costly. There's the penalties that they can accrue if they get too many incidents, and hopefully we won't see that as well today. We want to remind you, if you want to see your company on more than just a ghostly visage here on GSRC, you can have all kinds of sponsorship opportunities. We've got a link in the description below to find out how to get more than 1 million global monthly impressions with your company here on GSRC. Fabian Gerber holds the provisional pole, a minute 22.9 for him, just breaking under the 123 mark. Phil Lake, though, who was quick in warm-up, has a provisional pole. From what I saw, it seemed that last week's winner, Leskala, was the fastest in the warm-up earlier, so we'll see if he can come and try and smash that.
Yeah, Leskala just coming through Hans Erst at this time. We see Jamie Hall also getting going on what will be, I believe, his first flying lap. Jamie trying to get some stuff done here, but a lot of these drivers are struggling with the off tracks here. This is something that I didn't talk about much at the beginning of during the track prep, but the track is just so pressed in with all of this, all the grass and all the gravel around here. As we see, Yuko Leskala actually does jump up to that pole, like you were saying, Joe. So he is up there with about half a tenth on Phil Lake, so there's definitely room for either of them to improve next lap.
Jamie Hall, speaking of improvement, he is a 123.8, nearly a second off of Fabian Gerber, who did not improve on his second lap. I see Ove Trangrade is yet to put a competitive time in. He might be able to get it up there. He blows a little hot and cold himself. Other than that, I'm not sure that there's many who will be able to challenge today. Oh, and Phil Lake takes it back from Leskala. Now, Yuko has chance to respond here. He's still got half a lap left and plenty of time to complete it as we watch Estefania come across the line and improve to an 11th place. Houghton, who has been up there this season, second lap is faster. That's going to put him in third.
Third place right now for Houghton. Fourth place for Reed Miller. Yuri Giesen in fifth at the moment. Ove Trangrade trying to improve his time. Can't quite do it on that lap. About 3/100 slower. Alex Milward. He's had a rough season this season, Joe, and a little bit of patchy attendance. But let's see what kind of time he can put in. It's going to be a 123.7 on his first lap, so not a very quick time right now. Puts him in sixth, almost a second down.
Here comes Jamie Hall for his second lap. He's crossing the line now. It's a 23.5. It's an improvement, but it's only fifth place. His main rival is many cars ahead.
And Yuko Leskala up to pole by half a second over Michael Houghton.
Wow, things switching around out here. We're still waiting for a couple more to complete their laps. Alex Millward, who we just saw take his first one, should have enough time to get back around for his second lap. This is Tremblay right now, sitting in 11th, and that's as far as he's going to go because he's already completed his second lap. It's a 37.5 to get him up there. Looks like we won't see one from Rangel. He's not going to take a lap. Ryan Lang is done. I think, is Millward the last one we're waiting on then at this point?
I believe so, yes. So Millward's going to be it as he comes through Hans-Joachim. He crosses that really challenging curbing at the center of the corner. Now on towards Lyondike here. He's going to dump down that car right up to the curbing. Try not to clip it because that upsets the rear end of the car, often sends these GTPs out wide or spins them, and then just puts down the downforce and rockets to the line. Let's see whether he can improve, maybe crack into the 122s. Nope, just a 10th faster, but it's good enough for 6th.
Improves him one spot. We also had Michael Haynes complete his second lap. He was the last of them with a 39.6. So let's go through our starting grid here today. Fabian Gerber has put it on the pole with Tobias Gerber next to him. Second time in a row we've had a front row of Gerbers, but last time it did not work out well for Tobias. Here's hoping his luck changes. Laust Olsen up to third. There was so much happening, we didn't get to cover this. This is phenomenal for the number 24. Ardo Iamaki will be starting in fourth with Jamie Hall all the way down in fifth. He'll be next to Alex Millward. Hopefully those two UKNI drivers don't get tangled up with one another as Matthias Hovdahl starts in P7. Nick Mukanos will be starting in 8th and Rob Olenek in 9th. You got Fabian Jungbluth rounding out the top 10. Ove Trangrade, P11. You've got Iker Estefania in 12th. Stephen worked up behind them on the next row in P13. And then Aitor Sentes Guindo in the 14th spot. Kyle Reed starts in P15 and Hideki Koivisto is in 16th. Last one to get a time in was Kyle Graham at 17th. And you got Kraytrick and Lang rounding out your field of GTP drivers.
Starting off 20th on the grid, and pole for the GTOs is Yuko Leskala with half a second over Phil Lake. Very impressive qualifying time for sure. Michael Houghton just 2/10 back of his teammate in third place. Reed Miller's going to line up behind them in fourth. Yuri Giesen in fifth today, battling with Franco Scurry once again side by side in sixth place. Roman Pawlowski, good qualifying for him, puts him in seventh. He'll be battling with Maxime de Thomason and Francois Overman in ninth place. Burke Treidler comes in and sets a 10th place time, with Pascal Malfrant Tremblay starting off in the 11th place, with Miro Hraski in 12th. Michael Haynes 13th, Tom Moiti 14th, Will Messick starting off in 15th, last Audi to take a time, and 16th is Pablo Rangel. Carlos Fonseca and Victor Salza did not set qualifying times, and they round out your 38 car field here at Zandvoort.
That's a lot of cars. And, you know, in real life, Adam, with high-end vehicles, there's usually the concern at a track like this that it's just going to be like a zombie processional, that everybody just is in line and can't pass. Do you see that happening today, or with this many cars, is it just going to throw it out of whack?
Oh, absolutely not. I think the GTPs are going to have a hard time passing each other before they reach traffic, but traffic's going to define their battles for sure. The Audis, on the other hand, have absolutely no problems passing each other on this course. This course is very technical, and if you get just a couple of inches offline, it ruins your braking into the next corner, and you see drivers making mistakes quite frequently, even at the front of the field. So I wouldn't expect a parade here, but watch for the leading drivers and the leading drivers in each of the classes to bide their time until later in the race, but don't expect those leads to not change today. I expect we'll see quite a few lead changes.
Last week, it definitely changed at Mid-Ohio for poor Fabian Gerber. The damage, unfortunately, sent him backwards and just could not control basically his destiny from there. Could only go as fast as he could go. So we wait on this pace lap. By the way, happy Halloween, everybody. If you haven't picked up and you're watching this on a delay, it is Halloween today, which is why we're making so many little gags. But the drivers, I'm sure, have been very focused. Hopefully don't have too much of a sugar rush going on during this one. And Phil Lake and Yuko Leskala, this is proving to be something of a rivalry this season between those two. It's You know, at the start of the season, Adam, I would have been hard pressed to say that Leskala could take it to Phil Lake, but last week showed otherwise. And I'm starting to think that if he's consistent enough, he could be a serious threat to Phil for a repeat.
Absolutely, and I think it would have been more of a threat if he would have been able to attend all of the races this season, but missing the first two put him down in the points by quite a bit. The fact that he's up there challenging for the top three with a real shot at the win of this championship just proves how quick he is. Phil Lake, though, has been very consistent, and his luck has turned from last season. He's definitely got a good consistency streak going at this point. Of course, knock on wood here. Hope I don't curse him with that. But let's see whether or not he can take it to Yuko today. Yuko a half a second faster in qualifying, but that doesn't always translate to race pace, and we know how quick Phil is during the races.
Some fascinating choices for winner today, because even though we've got Fabian Gerber on the pole, we've seen, you talked about luck. Man, he's had the worst luck this season, and it's amazing that he's leading as big as he is, because he seems to get that damage, but he just performs and brings the car home. Now, his brother's next to him. He's had it worse, probably last round at Mid-Ohio. Unfortunately, off early in the race, sent down multiple laps, and just basically had to trundle his way to the checkered flag and end a miserable day. But Arto Iamaki, he's been fast. That Finn has won races in this series and has shown himself to be a threat, but can he perform today? And then you have to wonder about the wild card in this, that is Laust Olsen, who somehow got the car into third.
Yeah, absolutely. These GTP drivers have been really struggling, those who have joined us infrequently this season, with getting those tires up to temperature at the beginning of these races. That's the real struggle, and look for that to be a struggle going into turn one here. I believe they'll all take it pretty gentle, but you can never know with these guys. They might try to make some moves, and if those tires aren't up to temperature, some guys might be spinning off when they try to put the power down.
Do you really believe these guys know how to do gentle?
I mean, evidence shows otherwise, but we'll find out.
As we get ready to go racing here today, Fabian Gerber is going to be given control by the pace car, and then we'll race for 40 minutes here at Zandvoort with 2 classes and 38 cars. I hope you are ready for some action. It's just a little bit farther, and then that Porsche will duck into the very short pit lane entry. There he goes. Gerber's waiting, and he is off quickly. Oh, Arto Iamaki, bit of a jump start there for him, but he's going to take it anyways. He is between both Olsen and Tobias Gerber, and up into second. Everybody swings it into Tarzan around the banking, and you were right. Everybody looks pretty ginger. Let's go back to the Audis.
Audis quite a bit less so. Yuko Lesko with a good jump over Phil Lake and Michael Houghton. Reed Miller able to hang on to 4th. LaFranco Scurry's actually made it up to 5th place over Yuri Giesen. Rowan Pawlowski currently tucked into the 7th place as they start to go single file as they whip around the rest of the course, but they're right on the back of the GTPs.
Kyle Reed at the very end of that train is trying to keep ahead of them. They should be able to pull away. Hopefully we don't get any sort of incidents up ahead of them, because that certainly could send them into the midst of this GTO pack as we watch them swing through Sheevlock out towards the newer infield section. Up at the front of the GTOs, it's still being led by Fabian Gerber, and he's Jamie Hall, one of our championship hopefuls, is around, and he's stuck here. He can't get backed up, and he's going to disconnect. Oh no! Not sure what happened, if he got touched or if he just spun himself. It'd be incredibly uncharacteristic of him to make a silly mistake like that right at the start if he spun himself. So there's our leader, Fabian Gerber, in the blue and white, being chased now by Arto Iamaki. That was egregious, to put it lightly. That was a very early start from Iamaki.
That being said, if it doesn't get you a penalty, it's within the bounds. If you're not trying to win through whatever means you can, it's going to be difficult. But we need to go to the GTOs because Phil Lake's got a great opportunity here to try and make a pass on Yuko under braking. And it looks like we've had another push off. That's Ryan Lang off into the gravel. We're going to see him whip by as these drivers go. Look at that! Phil getting a good exit off of the first corner. They're going to go side by side. Oh my goodness, tight stuff between these two drivers.
Gerlach side by side is no easy feat. Lake's not able to capitalize, though. Leskala fends him off. That did slow them up and allowed Houghton to regain some ground. He wants to get in this hunt, as he has been multiple times so far this season. They come up to Sheevlock once again. Long right-hander. And these cars that love to understeer, you can see how much they have to tiptoe through there. And down into Masters, Phil Lake keeping a steady eye on the number 5 of Leskala, hoping for another opportunity like that.
Phil's going to want to...
Oh, sorry, he slid big time there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Phil's going to want to take it very careful here. Last race, he spent his tires a little bit too early at Mid-Ohio, and that meant that he couldn't catch up to Yuko in the later stages of the race. Where Phil Lake is the strongest is in tire conservation and race pace at the end of these races. If he battles Yuko too hard here, he will negate that advantage that he has, and that's the kind of skill that he has. As we see Fabian Gerber already putting in the fastest laps. He's driving like a man possessed today, Joe.
It won't be very long before he gets to the back of the GTO field, I'm sure, as the lap difference is pretty drastic between them. Watching Phil Lake stalk Yuko Leskala across the line once again. He's dropped off, and this means that they are dropping Michael Houghton too. Behind them, a little bit of a fight for 4th place is Reed Miller, and sliding way to the corner. Yuri Geisen and the number 22 was practically four-wheel drifting all the way through Tarzan.
Yeah, Tarzan's a very challenging corner for the Audis because of the nature of the banking. You think that you can take more speed into it than you actually can, so when you get in there under braking, the front wheels tend to lock up a little bit, and then you have to fling the wheel to try and get it going. At that point, you get it swapped ends pretty easily.
It looks like things have calmed down slightly as these three have separated. So let's take a glance at what happened to Hall. I have not seen this, so this will be my first time really trying to suss out what happened. We're looking for the number 7 here. Jamie Hall. Okay, here we go. Down into Masters. And it happens after this corner. This is into Renault. And then up to Vodafone. Oh, he did spin himself.
Yeah, just got on the power a little bit too aggressive there. When he was going to swap the weight from one side to another, he just got it a little bit too. He was still on the power a little bit too much and ended up spinning the car around.
Wow. So as we come back live to Fabian Gerber, I wonder if we could jump behind him to Alex Millward. Fabian Jungbluth must have had a good start of his own because he's up to P6. Millward's been trying to get by him. Is behind, you can see he might have to watch his mirrors a little bit more. That's Hovdal back there, and then Robbo is in there. He's jumped back into the GTPs.
Yeah, this has been a battle that's been brewing most of the race here, and Millward just has not quite had the pace that he's wanted to. Fabian Jungbluth actually has fallen back to Millward over the last couple of laps, so that's causing a couple issues for these drivers for sure.
Let's come down into Hans Ernst. Ooh, Rob is very strong on the brakes behind Matthias Hovdal. You can see how close he's getting underneath that rear wing. Just an absolute train of cars in the mid-pack of the prototype class. This is the critical corner exit off of Lyondike onto the front stretch. Oh, and Millward. Whoa, Millward's in the pits. That almost caught out Hovdal, who nearly got into the back of him.
This is a very... No. 5 laps in, he might have been on qualifying fuel.
That would be my guess. As we head back to Michael Houghton. And Phil Lake had a battle with Michael Houghton. Now, did he make a mistake?
He must have.
Bad shift, I think. Bad shift off of Vodafone. Watch this.
He must have gotten a course penalty somewhere earlier because he's been slow for a couple of corners now. Before this, Phil, you can see him saying, absolutely not, Michael. I'm still in this. I think Michael Houghton has dreams of trying to beat Phil Lake this race, but this is going to change the complexion of this race. And to be honest, this might actually be a good thing for Phil because it'll allow him to settle into his own pace.
Yeah, but he's lost touch to Leskala, and we've seen that the GTO or GTPs seem to sort of worsen the gap between the GTO leaders most often. So I would think he'd want to be right up on top of him instead.
I mean, he definitely would want to be, but at this point, that's not an option. So at this point, you got to run your own pace and hope that Eco's race pace is less than yours.
You're right. Whatever the case, I mean, it is what it is at this point. So He's just got to deal with it. Let's jump a little bit behind him. Reed Miller, just ahead of Scurry and Geisen, who we were showing just a few moments ago, staying just about arm's length apart from each other as Miller locks it up down into Renault. Can do that a few times, but not too many. He talked about preserving those tires and how critical it is. The good news is that the temperatures today are actually relatively cool. It's 72 Fahrenheit on the track surface, 22 Celsius for those over in the metric areas.
Absolutely, yeah. Trying to maintain your tire life around here is very important, especially in these 40-minute races. You're not going to have a pit stop. So these drivers need to be very careful as far as how they're managing their tire life around here. You can see just how tough it is for the Audis to get out of this final corner, because the car, you think you could just do it flat, but the car ends up pushing way too wide on the exit, and you end up having to fill up the throttle through the corner.
All right, we're into lap traffic for our GTP leaders. Miro Hraski, easy for me to say, just being overtaken by Fabian Gerber. And next up is Pablo Rangel. Oh, and a perfect example of a bad place to catch the slower class there through one of the fastest corners.
Yeah, he got a little bit lucky that he was at maximum downforce ability at that point. He's still got plenty of gap over Ardo Iamaki, but if Fabian catches the traffic in the wrong way like he did last week, we're going to see him back straight up into Ardo just like he did into Jamie last week as well. So watch for these two guys and how they navigate traffic. If you want to keep your eyes on any of the battles we're talking about, drop over to GSRC.tv in your browser, and that's our live timing and scoring. We're going to drop down to P6, though, once again, and take a look at Fabian Newbluth, who's really being hassled by Hovdal.
Yep, now that Millward had to take a stop, we believe, for fuel that he failed to put in, it's switched over to the number 8 of Hovdal, up through Slotemacher and into Shevlock. They're also hitting some of the traffic. Michael Haynes going around the outside. Looks like they're all going to be able to sneak through pretty safely. But as things continue to get mixed up, that could become more and more frantic. Oh, and Hovdal loses it. Car's going to go around facing the wrong way. Multiple spots just going by in a flash.
Ooh, I mean, quite frankly, it's amazing that he was able to catch it as much as he was. Great job from Hovdal to save that thing. You saw it live here on GSRC.tv.
So he is down to 12th. I mean, I'm actually quite impressed with Jungbluth at this point, because we don't typically see him quite up this high. He's into 6th, and so far he's fended off in 2 different situations, 2 different drivers, as I think Hraski had a big wreck in the background there, coming off of Line Dyke, going a little too wide.
It's easy enough to do in the Audi. You just clip the grass a little bit, and I mean, at Line Dyke, it's a high-speed corner. You end up just flying off there.
So some of the drivers already discovering just how tough it is out. Oh, and Lau Stolsen is around. Lau Stolsen is in the tire barrier at Hugenholtz. Well, it was looking like a good race based on his qualifying. He's a little bit stuck, and I see a car nearby, Tremblay. I wonder if these two are involved with one another. Here's the replay. Let's find out.
They are a little bit involved with each other. Oh my goodness, that's what happened. Laus was trying to avoid Tremblay, who was stuck in the middle of the course, and ends up getting into the outside wall.
Yeah, I mean, this really was not Laus's fault.
And neither was it Tremblay's, to be honest. He got caught out by this GTP, gets sent wide into the barrier, ends up in the middle of the track. Laus has to dodge him.
Millward got involved with Will Messick as well. As we come back live,
goodness.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly happened here.
Messick. Oh my goodness.
It's Tom Moite.
This is a mess.
Yeah, that's Tom there in the green car, green and white. He was just slow, and both the 4 and Messick just kind of didn't know what to do with him as they were trying to pick up speed. It looked very clumsy, unfortunately, in the end.
Well, the GTP is definitely struggling to get through this GTO traffic, as we've seen a couple of incidents starting off here. Fabian Gerber's doing a good job hanging on to that lead, but Fabian Newbluth is still under pressure, but this time from Rob Olenek, so it just never ends for Newbluth.
Okay, can Robbo be the one? So the number 6 up to 6th position. He's within about 3/10 of Fabian Jungbluth. Let's stay here, but just a note, we haven't talked about it at all. Nick Mucano's running a very calm race up to 4th, just a little bit up the road. You can kind of see him up there ahead of the GTO that's in between them.
I'll be honest, he probably prefers that we don't talk about him, considering his bad luck this season. So we'll just leave him to race around. Like I said, you can keep track of him on GSRC.tv. We'll let you know if he gets into any battles. But there you see Fabian Jungbluth passing Maxime de Thomason there, and Rob Olenek trying to catch up to the back of Jungbluth, but Jungbluth's about to catch some more lap traffic ahead of him again.
Big twitch on the power for Jungbluth there, coming out of Hans Ernst, but he holds on to it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just got to take us back to the GTO leader. Yuko Leskola has been stuck behind Kyle Graham, who's actually slower on lap pace than Yuko is, and it's starting to bring Phil Lake back into the picture. These guys are all starting to deal with some trouble with this backmarker GTP, as we could continue to see the battle between Jungbluth and Olenek on screen. You can see how close Olenek is getting, but Jungbluth continues to hold him off. There you see, and here comes Fabian Gerber to pass him as well. So Yuko Leskola, who was once 2.5 seconds ahead of Phil Lake, is now brought to within 1.5 seconds, and that's all because of the lap car of Kyle Graham. Well, not the lap car, the same lap car of Kyle Graham up ahead, who continues to hold up Yuko through the slow sections.
Big slide wide through Renault for Yuko Leskola. We got to jump back to Mucanos, who's been caught by Jungbluth. He must have been held up by some traffic. Olenek getting right underneath the rear wing of the number 14 as they go by Franco Scurry, who's going to stay off to the left, plunging down the hill into the braking for Hans Ernst. Shallow line, unfortunately, for Rabo, who's slightly off there, and that's going to cost him.
A lot of drivers, especially the GTPs, really struggling with the traffic today. I think the GTOs are not happy about the traffic either. Look at this. Nick gets held up behind Reed. Oh, this is going to be close.
Are we going to go 4 wide? We're going to go 3 wide at the least, splitting either side of Franco Scurry down to the inside. That's Jungbluth trying to defend, or trying to attack on Nick Mucanos. Around the outside, using the banking. Nick holding on, but just barely. Up into Gerlach. Are they brave? They're very brave, but it looks like Mucanos has the bigger stones, and he is going to hold on to P4 behind him. Rabo trying to take advantage of things. Is someone finally going to get the better of Fabian Jungbluth? Not quite, as he picks up pace.
This is crazy battling between these drivers. Look how close they get as they go through the twisting section. Now around turn 8, look at that. Jungbluth able to stick it with the downforce, staying ahead of Rob Olenek. Nick Mucanos just ended up picking the wrong line out of Lyondike and got stuck behind Reed Miller. That's what started to precipitate all of this battling. Wow, amazing stuff from all these drivers to keep out of each other, though.
Whatever monkey's paw that Jungbluth has wished upon, it seems like at some point it's got to turn back on him, because this is incredible the way he is holding on to this spot. 5th place for him now. A little bit farther down. Actually, not even farther down. They're coming up on the battle that I was just looking at just now. Lake on Leskola. He is within 1/2 second, and this fierce battle is quickly approaching.
There you see Tobias Gerber, 3rd place GTP, snaking by, and this 4th place battle is really, really close here. They're good. This is going to interrupt everything. This is going to interrupt everything between both of these battles. Oh my goodness! And that's Kyle Graham. That was Kyle Graham. That was sideways that they all had to go around too. Oh man, 38 cars on this track, Joe.
Yeah, this is one of the tightest, slowest parts of the circuit right here, and they're caught up behind Phil Lake, who's probably not interested in getting offline right now that he's finally got this ground back. Mucanos as well. He can't stick around. He's trying to pick a side. Look at them all check up. Oh no, they come together. Fabian Jungbluth into the side of Mucanos. He holds on to it, and he's through. Is the car damaged? He looks slow through the corner as Rob Olenek now goes by. Two spots gone in a flash.
But fortunately for Nick, he got put facing the right way again by Fabian Nunez after that contact, so he doesn't end up wrecked out of this race, which would have been the other result. Holy smokes, they were able to keep going straight after all of that. And once again, Phil Lake losing a couple of tenths to Yuko Leskola, but I think he's just going to be happy that nothing happened there. We have the spinning Will Messick up ahead of these guys that they're going to get by. Holy cow, Joe, this has been going crazy.
This is, I think, what we were kind of expecting. Now, I will note that Fabian Jungluth did get on the radio and apologize to Nick after that. Don't think it was intentional, just in the chaos of the situation. They kind of sideswiped one another. There we see Olenek chasing them down.
We got to go to the lead in the GTOs, though, because Phil Lake got a good run off of Lyondike, and he's got Iker Estefania up his inside. Is Iker going to back off and let Phil make this move? No, he's not. He's going to stay alongside and try and get Yuko. But look at this. It's going to hold up Phil Lake here as they go through the first quarter. Ooh, man, all of this is just nip and tuck for these drivers right now.
Sigh of relief from Leskola, having a buffer between himself and his main rival, Phil Lake. Look at the damage on the front of Estefania, too. That car does not look healthy. In fact, he almost spins right in front of Lake.
And this is the trouble that you deal with coming out of the slow corners. Like I said in our pre-race for the Audis have to be careful of these GTPs coming out of the slow corners. You don't want to get lined up nose to tail with them because they will not accelerate as fast as you. And Phil Lake having to deal with that trouble right now.
Just a heads up, since we've talked so much about the leaders here at GTO, Fabian Gerber, by the way, still leading in the prototypes, and by 11 seconds, 12 seconds actually, over Ardo Iamaki. And this is pretty much what he wants compared to last week, where it's nobody around, no traffic, and no threat from behind for sure.
Yeah, quite frankly, I mean, he is absolutely just driving like a man possessed out there. 12 seconds up ahead, but look at this. Yuri Geeson and Franco Scurry side by side.
And Scurry's going to let him by. Now, was that a missed shift? Or what happened there? 19 suddenly slow. Almost looks like
it was an early shift. He got into the grass as well on the outside. He short shifted.
All sorts of mistakes from the number 19 is going to allow Yuri up into the top 5 amongst them. This is going to be met by the battle between Hideki Koivisto and Kyle Reed. That's for position. That's down for 12th in the GTPs, and Yuri's going to be put a little bit offline. He gets through without losing too much. Actually, that was magnificent car placement by both of them.
Absolutely. Kyle Reed's been struggling a little bit this race. Not as badly as some of our other GTP drivers, but he's starting to get going once again. But Yuri Geeson's doing a great job right now to try and hold on to those positions. Currently in 5th, doing an excellent job this race.
Absolutely. This has been a little bit frantic out here today, but we've had some moments of calm as everybody collects themselves. We're already halfway through at this point, and I think we just... Oh, and Geeson gets into... Or no, Reed gets into Koivisto. Big wreck, and Reed is up and over. We just cut away as it happened. And poor Reed was... Reed Miller and Kyle Reed involved in it. There you see Miller, unfortunately, just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Kyle Reed just sent it into the corner quite a bit too late, unfortunately. We're going to see it right here. Just loses the back end under braking, and wow, collects 4 cars.
37 also didn't have much of a place to go. We're back at the lead with Leskola leading Lake. Just an update on Miller. He fell down to P6 from 4th. Scurry and Pawlowski managed to overtake from that one. These top 2 have not been separated by much, at most 2 seconds during this entire race. Good job to Phil Lake keeping himself in play. They've got Laust Olsen trying to lap them here.
That was really intelligent move from Laust. He actually held up before getting into turn 8 to make sure that Phil Lake could get his proper line going through there. We've seen GTPs not take that courtesy and end up getting sent out into the gravel on the outside. It's one of the most frequent wrecks we see around here at Zandvoort, and it hasn't happened yet today. So some of the GTPs learning that lesson from a couple seasons ago.
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen now. If our commentator's curse is anything to go by. As Lake in the dark blue machine you see, chasing the sort of pine green number 5 of Yuko Leskala. Going to complete yet another lap, getting ready to start lap number 15 around Zandvoort today. Houghton behind them, we haven't talked about that gap in a long time. It's about 3 seconds. Now that sounds like a lot, and it is well outside of attacking range. But as we've seen, traffic giveth and traffic taketh, and something could swing the way of Michael Houghton before this is over.
Well, he's going to hope so, because he's had a ton of bad luck, worse than our leaders when it comes to traffic, and that's why he is 3.5 seconds back at this point in the race. He just has not had the GTPs really respecting his space on track today, so that puts him, you know, you lose a 1/10 or 2 or even up to a second per car that goes by if they catch you at bad times, and it can add up pretty quickly.
Ahead of him, it looks like Lake's closed it down to 0.3 of a second now, so he could be threatening as they come through Masters. Gonna watch from on board. Not gonna lie, I dislike this new infield section quite a lot. Just something about the way it drives for me just always felt so awkward.
Yeah, it's miserable. It really is. I think it was designed to slow the cars down a bit, and it's achieved that goal. It just feels really bad as a driver for sure. It doesn't matter what car I've driven around here or truck I've driven around here. It's just one of those things where you're just like, this should feel better, shouldn't it? But in reality, I feel like it's designed exactly to be that. But here comes Phil with a great run through Lyondike. Can he get a good exit? Because that's what's going to matter here. Looks like he can't, unfortunately. Yuko Leskala with a much better exit. That's going to negate all the gains that Phil has made. He's not going to have an opportunity to pass down into one.
Reels him back in with a little bit of slipstream. Meanwhile, this is a great fight between Geisen and De Thomason, and Maxime in the blue car has to fall back as the pink machine of Geisen is going to be able to claim 7th.
Good pass from Geisen. We should also take a look at P5 and the GTPs, P4 and P5, because Rob Olenek has actually managed to get the pass done on Fabian Jungluth. The first time we've seen a chink in the armor of Fabian today.
Yeah, that took multiple corners from him. Looks like actually this is worth a replay depending on how this corner exit goes for how they come out of this final corner. Looks like we're going to look at the replay down through Masters. He's just going to make a great move down into Renault, and then from there it took him a couple corners.
Yeah, and they go 3 wide here with Martin Krajcik, who's been having a really poor race, unfortunately. And just that 3 wide and how shallow of an entry Jungluth had to make is what made the difference there. They've now got Krajcik still tucked in behind them, as that is Rob Olenek leading Fabian Jungluth, Nick Makanos, and the lapped car of Martin Krajcik as those 4 GTPs streak through this twisty section. They're going by Will Messick, who stays out of the way of these guys. But you can see just the speed difference there from these guys.
Whoa, big checkup for Robbo. Here comes Jungluth. He wants to try and get right back by. He's going to pull the same move that he did as they look to go 3 wide. And Reed Miller, thankfully, is heads up in that situation. But Jungluth can't get the power down.
God, Reed's had some diving GTPs all race, but look at this mess of GTOs as we see Nick Makanos have to split a couple of them. But here comes Jungluth with a great opportunity. Is he going to try and swap ends with Olenek? No, he is not.
By the way, we missed it during the replay that Olenek actually made side-to-side contact with Rangel coming through Tarzan. So he might have a little bit of damage from that one. He's certainly feeling like he's got to hustle to try and give himself some breathing space between he and the number 14 as they come down the pit straight one more time. He finally has a moment to relax.
But only a moment, because they got some more lap traffic up ahead. That is Maxime De Thomason, who's up ahead of them. And then they have Tobias Gerber, who's starting to fall back to these guys, actually. They've been increasing their pace as they've been battling, and that's bringing Tobias back into the fray here.
Down to 13 minutes to go now. Boy, time is going away incredibly quickly for these drivers. So opportunities are looking few. Thomason holding to the outside. Nicely done, keeping an eye out for all three and letting them through.
Yeah, the gap from Robolovic down to, oh my goodness. Okay.
And Geisen got on the radio with a few expletives of his own. Almost contact between Jungbluth and Olenek. I think he just managed to stay out of the right rear of that yellow machine.
You think these guys are pumped up or what, Joe?
The adrenaline's going, and it seems like the number 6 is going to have to fight hard just for 4th place. As we've got to step away because Leskala once again caught by Phil Lake. It seems Hideki Koivisto might interrupt things here as he comes up behind them. They've got nobody in front of them for a while, though.
Yeah, the real struggle for Phil is this exit of Lyondike. It's just not quite as good as Leskala's, and that's where he's struggling. And that's the only place where he's going to be able to affect a pass unless Leskala gets caught out by traffic. So Phil Lake is going to have to try and manufacture this lapping initiative by Hideki Koivisto to try and disadvantage Leskala. And that's a hard thing to do when you're a GTO driver.
It takes a little bit of cleverness out there. As they come out of Vodafone. Credit to Koivisto. He's not really forcing the issue. I almost wonder if he doesn't have the pace, because remember, he got into a big wreck earlier on. So it might be that he just can't overtake them. At worst, that'll be essentially a big mental distraction. And look at Lake. This is what we've been seeing. You were talking about this. He's very strong up to here. And then here is where he suddenly falls away. He's shallow again.
That's the issue. He takes that shallow entry into Lyondike, and then he doesn't get a good enough run. But Hideki Koivisto now up alongside Phil Lake. If he dives late into the brakes, he might actually cut off Yuko's turn-in. He is going to. This is the opportunity Phil's looking for, but no!
And he spun in front of Phil, so it evened out between them. Boy, heart attack for both drivers. They now have a slight bigger separation than they had before. Lake is about a second behind Leskala. Hope that didn't damage Yuko too much.
Yeah, and that was too deep of a dive from Hideki. He couldn't get the car turned in, unfortunately, and so that's what caused that contact. Yuko's got a little bit of right front damage. If that affects his drive from the right front tire, then he might be a little bit compromised here as they are catching a lap car here. The lap car of Tremblay, as they try and catch him. Phil Lake is going to hope that Tremblay holds up Leskala. That's not happening, though, because Tremblay pulling over to the side of the road, letting him by.
Now that's going to give us a chance to go look back at Olenek once again, because that group still incredibly tight. And Fabian Jungbluth is hungry today to try and take this 4th position back, as they're going to go by the locking up car of Michael Haynes, who dutifully stays out of the way of the trio. 10 minutes to go now. We're going to watch from on board Nick Bukanos now.
Yeah, Fabian Jungbluth is hungry, Nick Bukanos is mad, and Rob Olenek is being very defensive. And this is just a recipe for action and intensity for sure between all of these guys. They're catching up to Tobias Gerber once again, still within a couple of seconds of Tobias. So Tobias is not navigating this traffic quite as, I won't say cleanly, but quite as quickly as these 3 drivers behind him.
They come off of Lyondike. It looks like Olenek is clear. His straight line speed doesn't seem so hot. I've noticed that for much of this race. Jungbluth definitely ran him down just slightly, but I guess this isn't a track where you typically have to worry about being slow in a straight line.
No, usually you don't have to worry about it too much as long as you get a good exit out of Lyondike. And Rob's been able to hold this position for quite a while, but it does mean that he's not streaking away from Jungbluth, which means he's definitely susceptible to getting caught up in traffic and having that disadvantage him like we've seen before.
Up ahead of them is Tobias Gerber, so they don't have any traffic for at least the time being. Doesn't look like they're going to be catching any GTOs. We've lost a fair number. We kind of expected attrition to have a part in this. Hall, Cizali, Lang, Havdahl, Millward, Trangrade, Reed are all gone from this race. Now, the number 18 of Brian Walker He is up to 9th here. Where did he start this race?
He's starting 13th, Joe, and he's actually improving pretty significantly. He just made a pass on Francois Offerman, and while Walker, we're going to take a look at this replay of the pass. This was Offerman actually getting off track a little bit on the exit of the corner. But look at this. He's just got some good pace on Offerman there. But Walker, even though he may not have pace to battle with the leaders, he's showing some improvement over these last couple of races. And if he can keep that trend, we'll see some good things from him by the end of the season.
I'm not surprised. He tends to be fast in the spec race before, as well as the Skippy. Jumping up to some attention for Tobias Gerber. Oh, did Tobias get held up? Because he was about 3 seconds ahead last I looked.
He is being held up by Michael Houghton. Michael hoping that these guys are going to slip by and not take too much damage out of his time, but that's not going to happen as he's stuck on the inside here. And let's see how Nick Makanos handles this. He's going to have to cross over to the inside, is able to do so cleanly. But yeah, I mean, Tobias Gerber has been held up a little bit here, and now the next battle they have up in front of them is the battle for the lead of the GTOs, which is underneath the second once again. No chance of Phil catching Yuko this lap, though. These guys might define that battle.
So against his wishes, Tobias Gerber is made to join the fun amongst the other three. Down into the Hans-Ernst chicane and out of there. Rob Olenek licking his chops, thinking a podium is on the cards today. And where did Olenek actually start this race? He was in 9th place in that number 6 car. This is a fantastic climb from that yellow machine.
It definitely is. One of the things to keep in mind is we see Tobias Gerber cutting off the apex from Phil Lake. That's going to put him a little bit further behind. All right, I'm going to save that stat for a little bit later because this might be intense.
Yeah, indeed. They come upon our leaders. Leskala wants to let Gerber through, but not while sacrificing his own pace. And you can see they are really having trouble at this point. In fact, Robbo is way off pace as he has to squeak through, bouncing over the curb. And Fabian Jungluth spies an opportunity, but there's not enough width on the track for him to try and execute.
That is the absolute worst place to try and pass GTOs, but these guys have to go considering they're in this battle. That's why we saw them make those moves. That has closed the lead battle down significantly in the GTOs, but still feel like too far back to affect a pass. But these guys, look at them all taking defensive lines and aggressive lines through the corners. Oh man, this battle is far from over, even though we only have 5.5 minutes left to go.
Mukanos, who we know was much farther up than this 6th place a little earlier on, has been waiting to try and snatch that back on Jungluth. He gets oh so close, but just can't seem to overtake.
I mean, Joe, all these guys are thinking that a podium's on the cards, not just Rob Olenek. They're all thinking, hey, you know, if these guys all get together or if they all get held up by a GTO, I could just slip right by. So expect all of them to stay nose to tail and to be taking increasing risk as we get underneath this 5-minute mark.
I mean, anybody who watches this series knows that you just cannot predict what is going to happen. And it is certainly not safe, especially not for Tobias Gerber. So you're right, any one of these 4 could wind up in P3 as they go by Messick. He's going to stay out of the way through Hugenholtz. Unfortunately, that was the worst for Mukanos, who drops back slightly amongst them. Not missing anything up at the front. It's actually held steady a little bit. Gerber probably just pacing himself and is 10 seconds ahead of Iamaki, looking set to win this one unless something drastic happens.
Absolutely. So now to get back to that stat, you were saying how Rob Olenek had moved up 5 positions since the beginning of this race. Well, that's because 5 of the guys who are ahead of him are out of this race. So he's moved up by the nature of fortune for him. But that being said, it's still nothing to sneeze at when it comes to holding on to these positions.
Fortune favors the bold, and Olenek, we've seen him race in multiple series now. He is not afraid to get in there and fight for sure. As we ride on board, looking over his shoulder, coming onto the front stretch. Is Gerber going to get held up? No, this is Treidler in the GTO, and nicely done by the 15 to get out of everybody's way.
15 stays on the right side of the track, allowing these 4 guys to get by. This battle starting to stretch out just a little bit as they're in some clearer air. So these guys are unless there's a mistake from one of the guys up towards the front of this pack, these guys are going to be running nose to tail until they catch the traffic up ahead of them. 3 minutes, 15 seconds to go. That's about 3 laps worth of time. The guys in the back have got to be starting to think about making some aggressive moves here.
About 2.5 left. Gerber halfway through the lap, so should get to the line soon here as we once again look at Leskala. As he leads Phil Lake coming over Hoons Ridge. He's going to be interrupted by Martin Krejcik. Looks like Martin not interested in getting involved. He's going to wait here for Sheevlock, and he gets around easily on Phil Lake.
Yeah, great decision on the move there from Krejcik to go around that Sheevlock, because the Audis have to stick to that inside line. It's going to be 2 to go at the line for Fabian Gerber this time, and 2 to go at the line for these guys as well, considering Fabian's nowhere near the back of them. So Phil Lake is going to have to hope that Yuko gets held up here, because he doesn't really have anything for him. Oh, Tobias Gerber almost lost 3rd position.
I think Olenik's going to lose 4th position. Here comes Jungbluth. He's got a much better run, but he's going to be on the outside coming down into Tarzan. Can he outbrake him? No. Back to the side comes Olenik, but he loses the car and he gets tipped around by Mukanos, who holds up and lets him hold the position.
Oh man, it's getting intense for those drivers for sure.
Loses a little bit of time. Could still try and claw back. Fabian Gerber is on the penultimate lap right now. So he's going to get the white flag next time by. Is that a little bit of damage I spied on the right-hand side from Olenik now?
Yes, it is. Just a little bit in the center of the clip. Shouldn't be affecting him too much on the right-hand side of that machine, but it's definitely, I mean, he's had multiple contacts today. It's definitely going to be getting to his head.
Fabian Jungbluth started P10, and he is still hounding Tobias Gerber for a potential podium today as the white flag comes out for Tobias's brother, Fabian Gerber, who leads the championship and leads the race today, looking for win number 4. And there is Toby, still holding on to 3rd, Jungbluth within a couple tenths.
We're going to jump over to the GTO lead because Yuko Leskala is getting held up by a couple of lap cars up ahead of him.
And indeed, that was Estefania just in front. Eicher seems to not be able to pull away very quickly. Bad news for Yuko for sure. Really does not need any distractions right now.
All right, is Phil going to figure out Lyndike this time? Is he going to get that good exit that he wants? Because if he can affect the pass on Yuko. This is the last opportunity. Yuko, he misses a shift. Phil Lake up the inside. Yuko Leskala gives him a bump on the rear end. Phil Lake is through.
He took all race to make it happen, but as he sees the white flag, he knows he only has to hold on for a single lap to take the victory over his rival. Incredible stuff from Phil Lake, showing why he's a multi-time champion. Meanwhile, with the checkered flag being prepared, Fabian Gerber is leading the way to take his 4th victory of the season. It is a win here in the Netherlands for Fabian Gerber as he comes across the line. Also, Tobias Gerber and Fabian Jungbluth have been close in the fight for 3rd as Fabian takes another look down at Hans Ernst. He's had a couple stabs so far in this lap. This has brought Rob Olenik back into things along with Nick Mukanos. A 4-way fight. All they need is a good exit off the corner, but easier said than done, especially with traffic in front of them. Michael Haynes trying to stay out of the way, and Gerber is compromised. He's coming up behind him. Does Fabian have enough? No, he's not quite there. Gerber keeps 3rd.
And we go back to the GTO battle for the lead. Yuko Leskala has been hounding Phil Lake, but has fallen back just now from Phil. Phil looks like he's clean as long as he can get a good exit through these corners and through Lyndike. Phil Lake trying to hold on to this GTO win. Yuko Leskala has no tires left. Phil Lake on right before the last lap pass on the final corner of the penultimate lap, passes Yuko Leskala on a missed shift and is going to win here at Zandvoort.
Wow, Leskala's got to be kicking himself on that one. Quietly behind them, Michael Houghton will come home rounding out the podium in the GTOs. How about Franco Scurry a 4th place today for him. And I believe he's actually already finished the race. So that's going to be the last of our field coming through. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Zandvoort. Kamel GT just never seems to fail to deliver. And Fabian Gerber, I should say, we've called Jungblue so much this race. Gerber was our winner, actually, with Artu Iamaki trailing him home. A very early start. We'll see what the other drivers think about that one. I kind of don't know, but I guess fair play to him with how he executed it, because he held on to it through pace. Tobias Gerber started on the front row, still not able to finish there, but at least this time he came home on the lead lap and on the podium in third, just 3/100ths ahead of Fabian Jungblue, who nearly had him at the line. From 10th for Fabian. Great run for the number 14. Rob Olenek was certainly in the thick of it today, claiming a top 5. And Nick Bucano's unfortunately going from 4th at one point down to 6th, considering he started 8th. I'm sure he would have liked a little bit more than that. Heitor Sintez Gando was P7 with Stephen Workup in 8th. Iker Estefania was 9th. Laust Olsen round out the top 10 on the lead lap. And then Hideki Koivisto was 11th. All the prototypes from there on down finished amongst the GTOs.
Phil Lake comes home with the win today over Yuka Leskala after that missed shift from Leskala on the penultimate lap on the final corner. Michael Houghton just couldn't catch a break with any sort of lap traffic, or with Kyle Graham, who finished behind him, holding him up most of the race. Franco Scurry finishes in the 4th spot with Reed Miller in 5th. A great run from Franco to keep ahead of Reed. Reed having multiple issues with GTPs running into him today, unfortunately. Roman Pawlowski holds on to that 6th spot, with Yuri Giesen coming home in 7th ahead of Maxime de Thomason in 8th. Those two having a very tight battle throughout the race. Ryan Walker coming home in 9th position, with Francois Offerman finishing behind him in 10th spot. Carlos Fonseca in 11th, Pablo Rangel in 12th, Burke Treidler 13th, Michael Haynes 14th, Will Messick 15th, Tom Moiti 16th, and then we run to the drivers who really had some problems. Kraytrick, Tremblay, Hraski, and the rest of the field did not finish.
Looks like we've got our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us. Fabian Gerber taking win number 4 this season. Fabian, congratulations. I'm sure you're probably happy to hear this, but we didn't show you a whole lot because, well, it seemed like it had an uneventful race.
Yeah, I was hoping you were showing me not too many times. It went down very smoothly, but it was still very difficult with traffic. I had a couple of Not too hairy, but some hairy moments. But it went all okay. Sometimes it is a bit difficult because some Audis are much slower than the others, and then you go through the slow Audis and think you can go through there, you can go through there. But with the fastest, with like Phil or Michael Houghton, it's not possible anymore. So then you have to be more careful.
Certainly look like it. Now, it seems like you and Tobias have both found pace in qualifying. Tobias joining you on the front row for the second time. He did get a podium. I mean, what's it going to take to get you two to manage a 1-2 in the race?
Yeah, we're hoping for that. It's difficult when he starts in second. That the one in second has always a bit of kind of a disadvantage because the reaction time is difficult because you have to look on the side of your car and you cannot react to the car in front of you. So it's a bit more difficult. Starting second is not nice actually. Third is actually better, like we saw today also.
Yeah, there's a big jump there from Ardo Yamaki, who took advantage of it very well. Next round, going to Road Atlanta, which hopefully should be at least a little bit more open for part of the lap for you guys. How you feeling heading over to Georgia?
Yeah, always look forward to that track. It's really nice to drive. It's difficult in the S's with traffic, but otherwise it's fine, and it's a really great track also for multi-class. I look forward to it.
We do as well. Congratulations, Fabian, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again.
Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye bye.
That was Fabian Gerber taking the win out there today. And then up next, I believe Adam has caught up with something of a surprise winner here in Phil Lake.
Yeah, Phil, congrats on the win today, but talk me through that final corner on the second to last lap of the race.
Yeah, I didn't expect to win that either. Yuko's been so quick recently, and I was pretty happy just to be kind of keeping up with him and putting him under pressure. And then unfortunately he missed a shift, which is a well-known issue to have with Audi drivers, I guess. And yeah, he unfortunately couldn't get it in gear, and I just managed to sneak through on the inside. And then I had the most nervous lap ever, trying to just hang on for the last lap there. So a real shame for Yuko. I've had races like that where you feel like you did everything right to win, and then just one thing happens and it snatches it away from you. But yeah, happy to have got some luck today.
Yeah, I know I missed plenty of shifts when I was finishing behind you a couple seasons ago, but Phil, a very consistent run from you today. But when it came to the traffic, it seemed like it was really difficult out there for the GTOs.
Yeah. Early on, we had a new Nissan driver that was sort of struggling to get sort of out of the Audis, that's very frustrating. And then when the traffic came through, it was just a case of where they catch you. If they catch you in the S's, you're going to lose time. If they catch you on the start-finish straight is nice, but all the Nissans will run in wing 10, so they actually kind of struggled to get you in a straight line as well. So it was tough out there today. It was a lot of luck involved. Usually you can manage the traffic a little bit by positioning yourself, but the nature of this circuit is sort of constantly left and right, so there's not a lot you can do. You just have to hope for the best.
Well, Phil, as we head into the last half of the season, do you think you can hold off Yuko? I mean, he's charging pretty challenging this season so far.
Yeah, he's going to be really strong through to the end of the season, so I'm going to have to put in some more hours, try and find some pace, especially in qualifying. The tracks are kind of my style of tracks for the rest of the season, so hopefully that will help me a little bit, but he's definitely the fastest Audi driver at the moment.
Well, Phil, congrats on the win, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, see you guys.
That was Phil in and around the lake who won this race today, and it looks like Joe has caught up with Michael Houghton, who had a hard-fought battle with a GTP that was in and amongst them.
Yeah, it seems that there's a bit of back and forth happening in the chat. Michael, you did manage a third place, but once again, you're watching Phil and Yuko kind of scamper away from you.
Yeah, it seems like I've lost some pace here halfway through the season, and they've seemed to found something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm just trying to survive each and every race that we that we have. So maybe I'll get lucky. Traffic didn't play to my favor either. I mean, after lap 3 or 4, some of those slower Nissans they just got in the way, man. They got to move.
Yeah, we've been kind of following a bit of a conversation you've been having behind the scenes here. But let's look forward at Road Atlanta. You're talking about looking for opportunities to try to get up to them and do something. There's that long backstretch, and these cars tend to punch a big hole in the air. Is that going to be enough to maybe form a draft train and stick with them that way?
So, especially down what is it, turn 3, 4, 5, and 6, down that snaky bit, it should keep us all together, especially in traffic, because there's no way Nissans can make a move there, especially on the fast Audis. So it should be a much tighter race, I hope.
So it looks like Leskala, I think he might actually overtake you in points and move up into second. So in the end, is third your goal in the championship, or do you have higher aspirations?
Bittersweet. I mean, it's still podium position, so I'm happy about that. There's 15 Audis out here, and finishing on the podium is something really special. But yeah, in order to compete for the championship, it's either going to be finish first or second, and that's not going to happen anytime soon.
All right, so a little bit of a despondence from Michael Houghton. Congratulations on a podium, and we hope to talk to you more in the future.
Guys, I'll see you next week.
That's going to close us out with a big thank you to the Kamel GT series for bringing us back for another treat this Halloween. And we hope to see them more seasons down the line. A big thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, her contacts up there for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook's Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. Our merchandise store is linked down below. It's simply gsrc.storenv.com. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, will be Road Atlanta, Saturday, November 7th at noon Eastern. Remember, turn your clocks back after tonight. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, which will be with Snail Racing at Oran Park at 5:45 p.m. Eastern, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.